All right, let's get this party started. Hello and welcome, everyone. We are doing a Trino contributor call today. It's the 23rd of January, 2025, and we're kicking off another exciting year with Trino, hopefully. Thank you for those of you who are joining me live with questions and discussion topics. We got a few things to talk about today, and then obviously we're ready to chat with anyone that's on the call live. I will flip over to my notes and we'll get right into it. So first thing I wanted to mention is Trino Summit last year obviously was a pretty good success. We had 700 people live in the audience, 1,500 people registrations, and some really good sessions. If you want to find out what you missed out on, you can check out the Trino website at trino.io, and we have a blog post called Trino Summit 2024 resources. The sessions are all here, video recordings are all on YouTube, and then some slide decks for most of the presentations. Some of them have some very interesting content, and I definitely recommend glancing at a few of them just to get an understanding of how other people are using it, or also discussion topics like AI in Trino have had a good discussion there, and there's a bunch of other really cool things happening that you can find out more about what other people are doing, such as Trino Gateway, the Helm chart, or the new C# and ADO.NET client. So make sure you check that out and let us know. And keep in mind, Trino Fest is coming later this year again. So get your thinking cap on to figure out what you want to present at the next event, maybe. The other blog post I wanted to mention that is still interesting and open, we have the blog post recapping 2024 and sort of what we're going to do this year to some degree, obviously mostly also depending on the community. There's a couple of statistics here from the keynote as well as from the keynote plans for what's coming up this year, at least things that we know we want to go working on and what's already existing in PRs and so on. And we also have a survey here, Trino survey. I'll talk about this later, but it is still open. So if you would want to provide some feedback to Trino project maintainers and the community overall, this would be very helpful. It's only like a handful of questions, shouldn't take more than 2 minutes to answer. So that would be helpful to let us know. Next topic was the Python UDF I wanted to mention. So we had a Trino community broadcast with the creator of the Python UDF, David Phillips was our guest, and we talked about the Python UDFs, which have shipped now in the Trino 468 release, and we are declaring them to be like fully usable. We are removing the experimental flag with 469, and we would like you all to try it out and see how it goes. Super easy to use because you don't need to do any installation or anything. It's all embedded within Trino and works to write your user-defined functions using Python rather than the SQL kind of like routine statements that kind of look like basic. So this is more powerful and really cool. So that is the Python UDF news. Related to that also, we have 2 more Trino community broadcast episodes coming up on the 30th, so next week. Mateusz Gajewski is going to join us to talk about the client performance upgrades with the introduction of the spooling protocol and the support for the spooling protocol, which currently is available in the JDBC driver, the Trino CLI, and also just with the latest release in the Trino Python client. So people who want to try that out, please let us know how you go. The performance numbers and stuff we've seen are quite amazing, and Mateusz is going to share more how it works and like some demos and other stuff next week. So stay tuned for joining us on that event. Then in February, Peter Costoliani is joining us. He has been working very hard on the new UI for Trino, the preview UI that is already available in Trino. We just recently added he just recently added the overview screen and authentication, and now we're working towards having screens for the workers and so on. Eventually, this will hopefully replace our legacy UI or existing UI, whatever you want to call it, and be a bit more modern in look and feel, and so coming along nicely. And we want your help for that. So please have a look at the code base. If you're into JavaScript and want to help, that would be great. But even just like trying it out and providing feedback on what you think should also be there would be great. That's the Trino Community Broadcast 70 in February. And then, of course, if you want to be a guest and talk about anything or present anything yourself, just contact me and we can arrange another session anytime. That gets me to the Trino 469 release. It's been over a month that we got a release out. We have a release blocker still there. We worked around and fixed 2 release blockers already. And this is the last one. Hopefully we can get it out this week, maybe even today, but no promises. We've been kind of struggling with that one. But we got to get there. Once the 469 release is out, we will also take advantage of some of the feedback and lessons we learned or found out from the user survey. And that is, we are going to remove the Kinesis connector, and we are going to upgrade the minimum Java requirement for the Java client libraries and applications. So that is basically just the JDBC driver and the Trino CLI to Java 11. Hopefully you're not using Java 8. Most client tools and everything we've done research on is like way new already. So Java 11 shouldn't really be a problem. In the server, we also had close to 80% saying 17 would already be okay, but we're upgrading to 11 for now because that will allow us to get rid of some legacy problems with old libraries and follow pretty much in step with most other libraries in this stage for clients already require newer versions of Java, obviously. Java 11 is quite old. And that is it from the topics I had to talk about. So I'm opening up to the floor to whoever is here and wants to talk about some topic of themselves. So chime on in. I'm opening up the floor to the audience, so to speak. You can just unmute yourself and start talking if you want.
Hi, I've been on a few calls. I'm Doug. I have
Doug, I cannot hear you if you're talking.
I could hear him.
Yep, I can hear Doug.
I'll try again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Problem is Manfred.
Maybe it's just me. Can anyone else try talking?
Can you
We
hear me?
are.
Yeah, we're all talking.
We can all hear him. It's just you.
Try again. Okay, that might be my failure then.
Can you hear us, Manfred?
Yep.
Oh. Try now.
Can you hear us now?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
God. All right. So sorry. I hope I didn't interrupt anyone before when I was talking.
No worries. I don't think you did. So I just have like one of our developers has been working on the adding support for views in the Postgres connector, and I don't know if that's of interest to anybody else, but you know, we're heavy users of like DBT and soon to be SQL Mesh, and so this was a feature that they were interested.
What do you mean by views?
Exactly. That was my question.
That's so I think within Postgres, so we have the SQL Mesh code that we have like a medallion architecture, and so this would be creating views in Postgres from like two, multiple source tables in Postgres. So creating a Postgres view from that.
Does it create
that
a
would be
Postgres view or Trino view?
I think it creates a Postgres view. I'm not too familiar with the low level details. I haven't seen the PR yet, but I just wanted to see.
I'm
You know,
surprised that doesn't just work, because from Trino's perspective, a view is just a view from a source like Postgres is just a a table. So it looks like any other table to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask in a different way. Would this view be able to reference like other Trino catalogs? Like, are you using Postgres connector to store?
Yeah, no, I think this is entirely on Postgres, like so creating a view from Trino.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's not supported, Dane. Like to create a native view is not something that's supported.
how would you even do that? I mean, I guess you could do it with a stored procedure. Because like the view has to be created in Postgres language,
Right.
not Trino's language.
Yeah. So, well, I'll get, I mean, I'll have the developer file an issue and then, you know,
Cool.
we're willing to contribute it if somebody
Yeah.
else finds it useful. And this is part of like, there's some things that, I'm working through to get the, corporate CLA signed. And, you know, we intend to contribute some things that we develop if there's other interest. And the second thing,
Before you move on, I suggest once you file the issue, like you post on the core dev channel.
Yeah.
On the Trino Slack, so that you can have a bigger, more people are likely to see it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And the second question I had for the community was, we have a use case, for having a Trino to Trino connector. And I saw that there were a few like, implementations and that like, there seemed to be sort of movement towards like having a supported one. And I just want to know if there's, yeah, what the thoughts are for that. And I can tell more about my use case if you're interested.
So the last status I'm aware of, and it's lucky that Eric is here, is that Sash, Joseph, and Eric Anderson are working together on a branch that is public in Sash's, and he has permission to contribute it. We just never got we never got a PR. So Eric or Sash could send a PR. We are definitely interested to have that in Trino. That's been always our stance. Once there is a PR, we can start reviewing and looking at it. Keep in mind that it's just a JDBC connector, right? So it'll be JDBC between the two clusters initially, but it's still very useful, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a good start.
So with the Trino, we have one issue internal with it. Primarily the fact that it's use a super role account that does impersonation, so that this role account can impersonate any user on the other Trino cluster. And we're going to add key exchanges to it, so you can exchange one JWT for another. This is basically to make sure that you're moving the user's proper identity across the systems. So that's one of our holdups that's currently being scheduled to work on now, but we have it running. It's working fine right now. Like I said, it's kind of a red flag. You want to make sure that you're propagating user identity from the original source Trino machine that did the validation down. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking for our use case, you know, so we use OPA and, we would do the, I mean, my first thought would be we would configure the permissions on the first and then just use like some sort of service account. But what you're proposing sounds better. You know?
Well, so keep in mind that we tried that too, but there's a full access control that goes through on the local cluster, and there's a full access control lookup that goes on the remote cluster too. So unless you want some super role accounts that are kind of can do anything on those other clusters, it's a bit dangerous. So you need to have OPA properly configured on both systems, not just one, on both clusters. We don't really want that, but we're still working through some of those kinks.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
It might still be worth to contribute that connector as a PR for people that want to just use like with a read-only thing, for example, right? Like if you have two read-only connectors and it doesn't matter in terms of data, we just have to add the caveats to the docs. It might still be worth to think about that, potentially contributing it.
So the Trino Gateway also supports routing too, but the problem is you can't do a show catalogs,
Yeah.
and which hits that, which goes down. So the Trino to Trino connector is superior in multiple ways.
Mhm.
It's just that there are some security concerns that we have. But
Yeah.
as is, you're right. Maybe we ran into this with the Snowflake connector. Don't overdo your first PR. And keeping it fairly simple and then building on it might be a better way to go. Well,
Yeah.
it is the better way, right?
Yeah. And I will add the link to the tree from Sash in case you want to look at that one.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome, Buck. That's great. Anything else from you, or otherwise anyone else?
I have something too, Manfred. So the reverse of the spooling. So we have the use cases where if you're, and was working with Will a bit on this, where you're using Trino to load the data, it's much better to try and load it with like a arrow format, a Parquets, something in S3, and it's a lot faster, right? If you're going to do some insert statements into Iceberg, one is going to create a lot of metadata, but two, one row at a time is really nasty. So we're kind of investigating adding native Pandas data frame API to the Trino Python library. But if you're going to do spooling, technically what we're trying to do is, given set of Parquets, create a table, update, okay, so I'm a bit curious if the community or Mateus is looking at the reverse of the spooling, or maybe Dane would know.
Yeah, and just to add a tiny bit onto that too, I think what we found in some of the experiments, I shared some old experiments I did with Eric, was that the bottleneck when you're loading data seems to actually be parsing or not necessarily parsing the value statement, but actually analyzing it. Seems like the coordinator does a lot of work to determine and validate the types of values in the or types of the literals in the values statement. So if that could be avoided, it would probably really help the speed for uploading data.
Yeah, so basically in our experience, what we found was what Will found too, is let's say you're loading a table of 10,000 rows. If you did it one insert at a time, you're talking, I don't know, exponentially more than if it was just one large insert. Up to the size of the 1 megabyte of SQL that's allowed to come in. So that 1 megabyte operates within a few seconds.
I mean, the bigger problem here is a SQL statement like that is the wrong approach to upload data. Like a better approach is to have protocol support, and then you're basically like preparing an insert statement and then doing a batch insert using like JDBC or something else, because that way, like, you're just doing the analysis on that short statement, and then the rest would just basically be prepared data frame kind of thing. That's how JDBC works under the covers. When you normally, like, if you're going to insert into MySQL, you aren't just going to send it a value statement with 100,000 rows. You use their driver, and you actually are uploading data, not parsing text. So
that means we could probably use a prepared statement for this instead, then?
I mean, there's no protocol support. Prepared statement just turns stuff into text again on the server side.
Oh.
My point is, like, it's you could probably speed up values. Like, there's probably some advantage there, but to upload data, you really want to think about, like, I want to upload data, build a system to do that, and then make sure that works well with like JDBC, ODBC, whatever people are doing through like Python and stuff like that. And don't start with text. Like, text is very expensive. which
Yeah,
is
that makes
kind
sense.
of another way of saying what you said, Eric, except like you just make the protocol support that natively instead of like upload files and then tell it to insert from the files.
But there is no plan or anyone working on this at this stage I'm aware of. Is that correct?
No, I don't know anyone who's looking at this.
We are now, so whatever guidance that you have would be ideal, and we're going to give it all upstream. Right?
Cool.
We're leaning to using it native Trino, or we're leaning to use the Polaris Iceberg catalog, the Apache Polaris. Seems to work quite nicely too, but that means it only works for Iceberg, right? And people also have use cases of putting data into
Yeah.
Postgres and other sources.
Yeah, if it's on the Trino protocol, that would be nicer because then, like you said, it would work for any catalog, right? Like,
Yeah, it would
I
be
think
ideal.
Trino's the way to go too, because whenever I talk to folks about this, the reason they're doing it through Trino in the first place, instead of just dropping, you know, like a something into S3, is because they want to go through Trino access control, right? So you don't want to go through the Polaris catalog, because then, you know, if you have some access control in Trino like OPA, Polaris doesn't know anything about it. So you really want to go through Trino for your upload too.
Yeah, but we layered Polaris with the S3 proxy. OPA worked great. So we were able to do that. But our reason for wanting SQL is more that you get real-time feedback on problems if you're using SQL, right? If you're doing an out-of-band async S3 upload table creates, you don't get that real-time feedback on, oh, these types mismatch, you know, bad syntax. You want that business feedback that you get by using SQL.
mm.
That's our advantage, and it's advantage for everybody by doing that.
Ping me on Slack and we can set up some time. I can talk through if you got people working on it.
Absolutely. He flies to Taiwan on Sunday. Can I please beg you for some time on Friday?
Ping me on Slack. I think I'm free on.
Okay, sure. Whatever.
Sorry, tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
This week
I
is
was just
weird.
gonna say.
Yeah, I know.
I keep thinking it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah, it's Andy working on this. You guys know him from the gateway.
All right, that sounds great. What else? Will, James?
Hello, this is Xuanyu from AWS. I just wanna see if there's any way we can get some traction on the native surveys we trying to contribute. I think the Ion one has been there for like a month, and Rob from our side already did like a couple of revisions, and also we did a whole bunch of testings internally, so it's ready for review. And I also internally have the CloudTrail and grok written, and we are doing some testing and trying to wrap up the PR. But I just wanna bring this up so we can get some traction on the reviews and feedbacks, and we can, I mean, if we can get some good feedbacks on the Ion, we can take those back when we're bear those in mind when we're completing the CloudTrail and grok surveys.
Can you share those PRs so I can add them to the notes and then?
So we can start with.
So the Ion one, I have been talking to Rob about that, and I've been busy, but it's on me to review that. Like I pinged him 2 days ago and said I would take a look soon, and then I've been busy for the past 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. No
so,
problem. Yeah, we just did
I
some
wasn't
testing
aware of
last
the
week.
other ones though. That
Yeah, The other ones, I guess like one question I had with the CloudTrail is like we have that CloudTrail's wrapper, input format wrapper, but it is pointing basically the CloudTrail input format can work with both OpenX JSON and the JSON serde. And I think I had a question regarding what is the best way, to do this kind of mapping. Right now, I have to create two. Is that data source? I forgot like what I created, but a page source factory, one to create a CloudTrail plus OpenX, and one CloudTrail plus JSON component. Is there a
Sorry.
way to do a 2-to-1 mapping?
Sorry, a little confused here. I know CloudTrail is a format. Why would you need to use the two different it's like a predefined format for like a JSON reader? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it is the input format provide the way to extract that like CloudTrail records out of the wrapper. Then inside is JSON, right? Like you do have customers that statically expecting a different, like it's just JSON versus OpenJSON. So there are those like nuances that you do want to support or not.
I don't know. Send me the link. I can look at it.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to see it. Like my suggestion would be so you're saying JSON versus the OpenX JSON?
Yeah, the two serdes we already have regarding JSON. So we do want to support CloudTrail plus those two, or we can test it out if any of our customers are kind of expecting one behavior over the others. But I think just to reduce the friction, we may need to support those two. Which we like in Sina, we're already supporting those, like CloudTrail plus OpenX and the hyped JSON.
I mean, my suggestion would be don't use the OpenX thing. That thing is weird.
Yeah, okay.
But if people need it, then I guess we figure it out. Because it's that OpenX format is just bad in a nutshell. Like once you if you go look at the docs, like there's like a page of like here's all the weird stuff about it that I wrote. Like but if we need both, I guess we figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. And on a grok side, I'm wondering what do you think is the best way to bring the grok libs into Trino? So the problem we have is like the Sina grok serde are originated from like a open source grok lib, like someone wrote 10 years ago. The problem is we've been modifying that heavily, not heavily, but like a lot. And we add new like new parsers and things like that. And obviously that original project is already dead. So we can just like put our changes into that library and import that library to Trino. So one way to do that is we can kind of redo the whole lib and paste it into Trino. Do you think that makes sense, or we need like kind of new?
It'd be better
New
to have a
project.
separate project that you're controlling and releasing and maintaining.
Yeah.
So
it's not a lot of code. It's a couple thousand lines, I think probably 1,000 or lines of code. It's not like a big. But we want to know where.
I would just put it into another file reader, like the JSON reader and the OpenX reader, because like we just wrote new versions of those we wrote new versions of basically all of them because they were like most of them were abandoned and they were kind of a mess. So it's like I'd rather have more code that's better written and easier to maintain in the long run. Like we definitely don't want to rely on abandoned software. Like Mateusz has to deal with that, and like
Yeah.
we much like he's already fighting enough stuff with bad software that's been abandoned. So it's like I rather just have it in there like we're doing for like the JSON reader and stuff like that. And then we could just change it whenever we need.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
also be good if you get it in there and then you have some sort of like a commitment to like keep helping us with it. That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yourself.
Yeah, my
Sounds
memory
good.
with grok is that it's like it has a base parser and then all the formats are like a schema kind of on top of that base parser, but
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
how much you guys modified it. So it's once you get the base parser in, it's actually pretty easy to build more formats in.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
nice.
exactly. But we did add them, and those are kind of hard coded in the original project, which
Mhm.
like it's a big
Yeah.
file and it loaded. And right now we
Yeah.
can, load it from somewhere else, and those logics need to be
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like we can figure out exactly what we want to do, but we could probably just have like in the resources directory like a file per format and like just load them using like standard loader stuff in Java. So
Perfect.
make it
Okay.
easy.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Awesome. That's exciting. Thank you.
Good.
All right.
Hi,
Hey, Shoham, what do you want to
I have a question. Let's say I want to use Trino as a authorization layer, but without losing a lot of performance. So as I was thinking using the query pass-through table, let's say with Clickhouse, but I need to understand if I'm using a query pass-through table function, if Trino will ask OPA, for example, if the user
No.
can access this
Pass-through
table or not.
Pass-through queries are literally a unknown text blob that gets sent without any validation or anything straight into the underlying data source, and it's completely up to the data source to deal with it, like fail or whatever, do any processing, and then the result comes back to Trino.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and security checks, I like generally don't have the security check would be like this user is trying to call this table function, not this user is calling this table function and here are all the parameters. Like that's not something that's not typically how things work. I'd have to look though. Like
Yes, I understand. Because the other way is to improve the push down or something like this.
yeah, what connector you specifically like working on or looking at?
Specifically, I checked with Clickhouse. I did a bit of benchmarking, and I saw there is you lose a lot in performance when you use Trino over Clickhouse. But I have a problem to use Clickhouse directly because the authorization that I implemented in with the Open Policy Agent. So I need somehow to deal with that. Okay.
I would suggest like the Clickhouse connector is in pretty good shape, but definitely doesn't have all the performance improvements, and it is just the JDBC connector, so it can potentially get more performance improvements that other connectors have implemented. Like you can look at like the Postgres connector one, for example, has a whole bunch of push downs that other don't have, and you can probably port a bunch of them over. That I think that would be a first thing to look at if potentially.
just be aware like push down has limitations. Like at some point you run into something that like doesn't know how to push down and then like it stops. So like you gotta temper your expectations.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Eden, Christian, do you have any questions or want to bring anything up? Ratul?
Can I talk?
Yep.
So I'm currently working on an issue open on the storage process of S3. with the standard platform access. It's my first contribution, so I think it will take me like a week to do this and test the issue. And I will need like someone who will do a CR for this.
I'm sorry, but I at least have a very hard time understanding you audio-wise, so I don't know what you're asking.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on an open mic, not a headset microphone. It's kind of hard to understand.
Hear me now well? Better?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
better now.
Okay. So I'm working on an issue with the compatibility of Trino with standard infrequent access storage class in S3. So I will need a quick CR from someone like in a week because we need it in our company.
So you need what? Like
A code review
Like
for
code
the
review.
for the
code
addition of
review.
the storage class configuration to S3 native file system, which
Okay.
is something that I believe we had for the HDFS based S3 access, but we don't have for native.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah. Is there a pull request open already?
No, I will open it tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. Well, once the pull request is open, we can see if anyone is available to look at it. But without that, we can't really, like, there is no such thing as a guarantee on turnaround or anything like that. This is an open source project, so we're all volunteering our time where we can, right? So
Okay.
please
Yeah, that's fine.
please just send your pull request and then we can discuss there. And there is
Okay.
a Slack channel on the Trino Slack called core-dev. That's where you can also message about it and maybe get some more attention if the PRs don't get looked at. But if it's a critical issue, there's a chance that others have the same issue and then it will probably get looked at sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eden. Cool. Anything exciting anyone wants to share?
Our CR will break in 1 week
Why?
because JDK 2302 will be released, and it has an updated Timezone DB with the amended historical time zones for Mexico countries, and this will break our
Is our test coverage trying to find the wrongness
around the Unix epoch. Yeah.
The tests are designed to cause us pain when the time zone database to force us to think about it, which is good and bad and always super annoying. So
yeah. Well, hopefully we get 469 out before then.
But it's independent of the it's depending on the Java version, not on the
yeah.
And actually the worst part is that we have two sources of the time zone information, Jodatime and the time zone DB in Java, and this usually stay in sync. But once we release, it stays on the old Jodatime, which is not updated because it's not in sync with the time zone DB in Java, and now the Java will be released with the new time zone and the Joda stays old, so it's a mess.
We tried a number of years back to write a plugin for Joda that would make it source its time zone from the Java one, and we got close, but ran into some very subtle issues we couldn't figure out because time zones suck.
Maybe we should just get rid of the Joda entirely.
Joda stuff is way faster than the Java stuff.
Still?
The Java stuff uses objects to transport all its data types around. And if you fail escape analysis, it's like 10 times slower. Because all the Joda operates on longs. So like you need Valhalla until like, and once Valhalla comes, like you drop all of the Joda stuff. Yeah, it sucks. Like there are just zero good answers here.
Yeah, the worst like situation is that we don't have a single source of the Timezone DB. Either it's JDK or Jodatime, right?
Yeah. If someone wants to sit down and try and make Joda source its data from the JVM again, like, and figures it out, I don't know. Maybe AI can write this code for us now.
It's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there goes the fun with the JVM again.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Anything else, anyone? All right. Well, last call. If not, I will, or we will see you next week in the Trino community broadcast with Mateusz about the spooling protocol, and then with the preview UI in February, and then at the end of February we'll have another contributor call. Looking forward to see you again then. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Right.